Welcome back to Sow, Grow and Cook on another soggy Saturday. I was going to take you on a tour of our outdoor vegetable patch, but it's raining and I don't want my smartphone to get wet. I don't want to get wet because when I get wet, I feel all kind of grumpy and irritable for the rest of the day, and then the dog and the cats hide and it's no good. Anyway, so I'm going to take you on a tour of the lower polytunnel where I have planted the tomatoes and a few other things. Now, I know this time of year people are experiencing blight on their tomatoes and some on their potatoes. I've chosen to plant blight resistant potatoes and blight resistant tomatoes. Now, with the tomatoes, unfortunately, they happen to be F1 hybrids, which mean I cannot save the seeds and they grow true to type the following year. I know you can take cuttings and remove the side shoots and root those, and then you get identical plants as the parent, but the timing for that is just all wrong because I'd have to winter them over till probably next May, and I'm just not sure I've got the right kind of setup to do that. So unfortunately, I have to buy seeds each year. I don't mind doing that because my priority is to preserve the tomatoes that we grow. And if I'm going to go to all the effort of growing those, I want to ensure that I've got a good crop. So I grow them in the polytunnel and I grow blight resistant varieties. That doesn't mean I don't grow heritage varieties. I grow a few of those as well. And I save the seeds of those. I think it's really important to do that. Food security and, maintaining diversity and all sorts. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. So come along with me and let's go have a look. Let's go inside the lower polytunnel and see what's growing. When we first put the polytunnel up last year, I had 3 beds. I had a narrow bed at the left, a path along there, and a central bed in the middle, but I felt that that was wasting a bit of space. So this year we eliminated that path towards the left and made it all one big bed. But we still have got a footpath here, which has got a wood chip base on it, and a much narrower bed on the right. It seems to work just fine this way. Okay, let's start on the left. This is where I plant the majority of our tomatoes, which we grow mainly for bottling. I make quite a lot of passata and sauces, but we eat quite a lot of fresh ones as well. And I've grown quite a few blight resistant varieties. The one I grow most of all, though, is Crimson Crush. It's a good, round, meaty tomato, great flavour. It's a cordon variety, so it grows quite tall. And we've got to face it over here in West Wales. We get quite a lot of rain, especially in August, and we get warm weather as well, and those are ideal conditions for blight. And you can even get blight inside a polytunnel. It's probably not going to be quite as bad as if your plants were outdoors, but it still happens. Last year I grew more heritage variety tomatoes than I did these blight resistant ones. And last year I got quite a lot of blight on my tomatoes late in August, but the blight resistant ones were spared. So as I want a crop and food preservation is kind of my priority, I am planting more of these blight resistant tomatoes. That doesn't mean that I grow no heritage varieties, because I do, and I always will. We'll talk about that a little bit later. I'm also into seed saving, and I realize you can only really save the seeds of the heritage or open pollinated tomatoes. And then I've also grown Crimson Plum, which is a similar variety, but plum shape, as the name suggests. And I thought I'd try those as well for bottling. They're growing really well. I'm getting quite a lot of trusses on each plant here. And again, they're blight resistant. They're growing quite vigorously. They're tall. I'm nipping out the tops now because I know that we probably won't have time to ripen new fruit that is produced as we're heading towards the latter half of August. Just along here I've got 3 heritage variety tomatoes, and they are Ukrainian purple, a big favorite of mine. I've saved the seeds from these for the last 7 years or so, and they just grow beautifully. They're kind of a purpley red when they are fully ripe, and they have quite a nice rich tomatoey flavour, especially if you pick them ever so slightly underripe, so a bit more ripe than this, but not full on soft ripe. When they're full on soft ripe, they're still good. Thank you, cockerel, thank you, that was quite loud. If you pick them when they're quite soft, they're still tasty, but they're better for cooking, I think, at that stage. Yes, thanks for your approval there. Right, to the right of the tomatoes, the main tomato bed is a frame full of borlotti beans. Now, normally I wouldn't grow borlotti beans in the polytunnel, but I tried growing them outdoors for 2 seasons, and they just didn't crop very well, or they'd get to a certain stage and then they just kind of stop. And I'm growing them mainly for the beans inside, although you can eat the pods when they're young and tender, and they're quite delicious. So all was not lost last year. We did eat quite a few of the pods, but they seem to like the warmth in here, so I'm going to leave them until the seeds are quite mature and hopefully dry. Right, here we've got Stella sleeping on the job again instead of chasing the crows and politely asking the chickens to stop cock-a-doodle-doing. On this left, or on this narrow-sided aisle, we have got a couple of the Crimson Plum, and then we've got some more heritage variety here. We've got Tigerella. I absolutely love Tigerella tomatoes. They've got these beautiful stripes, as the name suggests. They're kind of tart sweet, and they're very, very yummy. And I'm going to be saving seeds from these for next year. I planted 2 spaghetti squash, and they took a while to get going, but now I've got, I don't know, about 5 or 6 spaghetti squash growing. I also have a yellow zucchini or courgette growing. And as I've got these 2 squashes near each other, I won't be able to save the seeds, because no doubt they will have cross-pollinated. And you don't want to be eating cross-pollinated hybrid squashes, because sometimes they're not very good. Going on a little bit further are my 2 cucumber plants. I think the variety is Carmen again. Very good, very productive. I need to pick these and make something with them. So growing in a polytunnel has its advantages in terms of protecting your plants from a lot of the elements, but even though I'm growing these blight resistant tomatoes, I still have to take care with them. I trim off the excess leaves, I take off anything that doesn't quite look right. I try to modify the watering so that I don't water too heavily or too lightly. I want to make sure that there's plenty of air circulation so that no diseases get a chance to build up in here. But apart from that, it's a lovely environment to be in. I like coming in here on a cold or rainy day, and good grief, the dog loves it too. Stella! Stella! Come on, you're going to join me. Come on! Wakey, wakey! Come on, Stella!